Hi, my name is Trevor Klee. I'm a GMAT tutor. I scored 47V on my own GMAT, and I've helped a lot of other people score 700 plus on their GMAT. I want to talk today about a tricky topic in critical reasoning, which is specifically these inference type questions. Um, so these inference questions, especially the 700 plus questions, they give my students a lot of trouble. They give a lot of people a lot of trouble. And the reason is that they're different from our normal GMAT critical reasoning questions. So our normal GMAT critical reasoning, our conclusion is in our original paragraph in our stimulus. But in these inference ones, the conclusion is in the answer choices. And so while normally we can understand our original paragraph as an argument and then strengthen it or weaken it or find the assumption or whatever, here we actually have to understand our original paragraph just as premises, and then we put our conclusion in our answer choices. So one way I like to think about this is I can put because in front of the stuff that's in my answer choices or in my paragraph, and then I put therefore in front of my answer choices. So, because dot 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 and dot dot dot, therefore this can be properly concluded. So that's the general strategy here. So that's what we're going to do generally. Now I want to talk about this specifically. So these are some really difficult questions. These are 700 plus. Um, so these are the sorts of questions my students have trouble with all the time, and that's why I want to talk about them right now. So let's lay this out. So starting with this first one, actual GMAT question from the official guide. Half of Metroburg's operating budget comes from a payroll tax of 2% on salaries paid to workers who work in the city. Recently, a financial services company, one of Metroburg's largest private sector employers, announced it will be relocating just outside the city. All the company's employees, amounting to 1% of people now employed in Metroburg, be employed at the new location. All right. So if we were looking at this middle part is sort of pointless. But we do have, these are our two premises, right? One and two. We've got half of the operating budget comes from a payroll tax of 2% on salaries paid to people who work in the city. And now this company, who has 1% of the people employed in Metroburg, is moving people outside the city, right, to a new location. So what's going to happen to the payroll tax? Presumably the payroll tax is going to go down, right? Now, how much is it going to go down? You might be really tempted to say half the payroll tax will disappear. But we've got to be careful here. The payroll tax is on salaries, right? This is when we got to make really close attention to our premises. The payroll tax is on salaries. The employees are 1% of all people. What's the difference? Not salaries, right? So if the payroll tax is 2% of salaries and the employees are 1% of people, we've got to be a little careful with what that means. Are all the employees paid $1 million a year? Then they're probably way more than 1% of salaries, right? Or all the people paid $1 a year? Then they're probably way less than 1% of salaries, right? So people is not the same thing as salaries. So we've got to be really careful with our premises here. But, all right, we've got our two premises. Because one and because two, therefore, all right, so let's put it. A. Therefore, unless other employees add a substantial number of jobs in Metroburg, company's location is likely to result in a 1% reduction in the revenue for the city's operating budget. No, absolutely not. That's exactly the issue, right? It's the revenue would be a reduction, 1% reduction, if the company amounted to 1% of all salaries. But it's 1% of all people. So we can't guarantee that A is correct. It might be correct, but we can't guarantee it. B, although the company's relocation will have a negative effect on the city's tax revenue, yes, the company's departure will not lead to any increase in the unemployment rate among city's residents. I mean, that just seems obviously wrong, right? Like, if 1% of people employed leave, I don't know, like maybe the unemployment rate's going to increase, maybe it'll decrease. Who knows? Like, sometimes my students actually get tripped up on this answer and they say, well, people are leaving. So, like, jobs per person stays the same. And it's like, well, I don't know. What if there's like the local coffee shop? They used to serve coffee to the people working at the company. Now they're unemployed. And like another thing, it really doesn't come from one or two. It's going to have to do something with the payroll, right? Like payroll, people employed. Yeah, unemployment rates like totally out of scope. All right, C, one of the benefits that the company will realize from its relocation is a reduction in the tax paid by itself and its employees. No way of knowing that. We have no idea what the taxes are in the new location. Revenue from the payroll tax will decline by 1%. Already wrong, right? It says if there's no increase in jobs. Yeah, it's not about the jobs, it's about the salaries. Cool. So, unless we really messed up, E should be the right answer. And it says the company's relocation will tend to increase the proportion of jobs that are in the public sector, thus it results in a contraction of public sector payroll. I mean, that's pretty much it, right? The company is presumably a private company, so if 1% of jobs leave and they're all in the private sector, more jobs are going to be in the public sector, unless public sector also decreases. Like, I don't know, maybe they had a special department in the city like dedicated to them for some weird reason. All right, so E is correct, and this here we've got like payroll, whatever, so it's pretty good. All right, so one key thing here, we're going to see this a couple times with inferences, or a lot with inferences actually, is we pay really close attention to our premises. In the same way, an assumption, you might say, okay, what's the jump between the premises and the conclusion? Here we get a jump from premise to premise. We get a jump from salaries to people. All right, so that's this one. Let's try the next one. So we're going to do the same thing again. We don't change our strategy. So studies of political orientations of 1,055 college students revealed that the plurality of students in Eastern big city private university was liberal, whereas in state-supported Southern college, plurality was conservative. Orientations were independent of the student's region of origin, and the trends were much more pronounced than in seniors than in beginning students. All right, so let's break this up. Here we're not going to delete anything. We've got, all right, one, and we've got two. So I'm going to delete actually this to make it a little more clear. All right, so the plurality of students, which I mean, like it's pretty close to majority, like plurality. We can assume it's majority. It's the actual definition of plurality is not super important right now. So plurality of students in this Eastern university is liberal, and in the Southern college, it's conservative. Okay, seems straightforward. Orientations are independent of the student's region of origin. Okay, and let's actually do this as three. The trends, right? Presumably, how many students were liberal or how many students were conservative, were more pronounced in seniors than in beginning students. Okay, so we've got like these three things going on here, right? It's the liberal versus conservative. It doesn't matter who you're from, but does matter if you're a senior or if you're a freshman. So, which of the following is best supported by the observations stated above? So, therefore, right? Therefore, the political orientations of college students was more similar to the political orientation of the parents when the students start college than when the students are seniors. We have no idea what the political orientations of their parents are. Absolutely not. Political orientations of college seniors depend significantly on experiences they have had while in college. Um, we don't know about experiences. Mm, yeah, all right. So let's hard to say. All right, let's keep that for now. College senior originally from the South is more likely to be politically conservative than is a college senior originally from the East. Nope, that's the opposite, right? 2 goes exactly against that. D, whether their college is state supported or private is the determining factor in college students' political orientations. Yeah, so that one's definitely overreach, right? We do know this one's private and this one's state supported, but we also know it's big city versus, I don't know, hard to say, maybe small city, and Eastern versus Southern. So, unclear. Is it state supported versus private? Is it Eastern versus Southern? Is it big city versus not? Who knows? Last, college students tend to become more conservative politically as they become older and are confronted with pressures for financial success. No. So this one is a misreading of number 3. When it says the trends are more pronounced, that means these seniors in the big city, in the Eastern one, are more liberal. So actually, college students aren't becoming more conservative. If you're in like Eastern big city private university, you're liberal. So that actually leaves us with B. I don't love the part about experience they've had in college, but it definitely sounds like at least the longer you stay in college, the more likely you are to be like liberal if you're at a liberal college or conservative if you're at a conservative college. I also like how they just say depends significantly. So they don't say that's the only factor, it just says that's a big factor, which fits in with what we want. So I don't think B is perfect, but I think B is pretty good. All right, cool. And that's how we do these inference ones. We do because, premise, premise, cut, premise. And then we do therefore, conclusion. And that's pretty much it. If you want to see more videos like this, please like and subscribe. I'll be doing more videos on the GMAT, including reading comprehension, critical reasoning, and sentence correction. Also, if you want a book all about critical reasoning on the GMAT, showing you these techniques in action on original tricky questions, detailed explanations, you can check out my ebook, gumroad.com/Trevor Klee. That's pretty much it for now. Thanks for watching.